song, or did they just do it really well too?
Daniel
Nahmod, who we all love and adore. If you haven't listened to Daniel Nahmod's work, you really, really ought to check it out. He has some really funny songs, and then he has some songs that are just, and I don't know how to spell that, so you'll have to take your own notes. So this month, we have been talking about spiritual growth. And we spent, frankly, a lot of time talking about the ow in growth. About what it takes to get us motivated to do this work. Now, I figure this is kind of like physical fitness, in that it does take some sweat equity in there, it takes some work, and you're achy afterwards sometimes, but it feels good. And then there are these weirdos who apparently like going to the gym. I love going to this gym. This is my happy place. So I am very lucky that my divine coach brings me opportunities to work out in that way all over the place. So let's talk about the most important part of spiritual growth. Why in the world would we work that hard? Part of my life is mentoring new ministers and ministers who are in the midst of change and ministerial students. And part of the joy of my life for the past few years has been working with almost Reverend Leslie in watching her develop into the minister that her heart has always held. So next week when she graduates, and she does what's called answering the call on behalf of her classmates, which is a talk she gets to give at Encinitas in front of probably about anywhere from 500 to 800 people at Ernest Holmes' lectern. It's a yummy lectern, I have to tell you. You just hold on to it and get ready for the ride. And I get to give her her master's hood. I get to be one of the people. We call it hooding them, but that sounds kind of nefarious, and like she's going to end up someplace with a ransom attached to her. That's called ministry. Just kidding. But part of it, of what happens next week, is that we get to celebrate the commitment to spiritual growth on behalf of these beloved new practitioners and new ministers. This is graduation time in America, where we celebrate the educational growth of many of our family members. We get to this place where we get to say, hey, that's where we started, but this is where we are now. And we get to evaluate, many of us will evaluate for ourselves, wow, what did I learn? Anyone doing a commencement address is going to say something about, what did you learn, and how do you apply it? So, for today's talk, I decided that the most important thing I could do was remember that I equip you to do the work. So today, you're going to write the talk. That's right, she's up to something again. And I even bought new pens because those are fun. If we say that spiritual growth is one of our primary values, how do we know that we're seeing results? Ernest Holmes says that if you can't point to the demonstration in the physical world, then you have not finished your prayer work. You might have done a lot of prayer work, but you haven't finished until you can point to the demonstration. Which is cool, because that means, in this infinite time, we get to keep working on exactly the demonstration we want. So Jackson has the microphone. I'm going to remind you that if you don't speak into the microphone, all the teachers are going to wonder what the heck the answer to your question was. Because I'm asking the question, and this time you're answering it. And we do record this for our youth and family, our Children's Association of Awesomeness teachers. How do we know that we are spiritually growing as a community? What does it look like? If an alien walked in here and said something other than take me to your leader, how would they know that this is a center that engages in spiritual growth? So it's okay if you want to take a minute to go within and think about that. How did you know that this was a safe place to be? How did you notice within yourself that you had started this journey of spiritual growth? Thank you, Mr. Prager.
I see results because, and the way that my students show me respect and say, I learned something.
So you get feedback from the rest of the world saying, you've taught me something.
Success.
Okay, success.
Especially in terms of respect.
Respect, I would suggest that it's from students and peers and colleagues. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
How else do we oh, hello, Barbara.
I think most of us, hello,
There you go.
most of us would be able to understand how, when, and what content of prayer would be.
You can just put your hands down for a minute. For years, I've been walking around with this microphone, giving it to y'all, and I've never said a word. But
Okay.
I'm calling on myself.
Yay!
And the reason I'm calling on myself is that this demonstration happened today. And one way, I would say one way you measure spiritual growth is you notice that your reaction to similar situations has changed. I will quickly elaborate. Last week at sound check, I called my soloist. I said, hey. They said, hey, good morning, on the phone. I said, so, you coming? Yeah, we'll be there at about 10 or so. I said, oh, well, it's time to sound check. Oh, well, we'll just sound check when we get there. And I said, well, I can't do that because we have meditation. So they showed up, quote unquote, late, and I'm like, oh, no. And so they sound checked after meditation. And I was like, I love that. They sound checked while people were walking in, and I thought it was great. And so I was like, oh, everything unfolded as it should, and it was great. This week, when Leslie gave me a CD, I said, oh, we'll see if it works. And she said, it's always better when it works. And before last week, my reaction would have been, you're absolutely right about that. But because of last week, I said, I have no idea whether that's true or not. It's better if it works. It might be better if it doesn't work.
That's
So
awesome.
my response to a similar, quote-unquote, potential problem changed, and that, to me, is spiritual growth.
So I'm going to add a word to that and say that we accept what is. Just so happens I was reading about that this morning, and I posted it on Facebook if you're a Facebook person. And forgive me, I don't think I'm saying it right, but it's amar, something that begins with an F. It is a very short Latin word. And what it means is to love everything. Not just tolerate. Justin Trudeau did a great commencement address about, when somebody really cares about you, they don't tolerate you. We don't aim for being tolerated by our in-laws, right? Okay, breathe. I know that might be a step up for some people. But we don't aim to tolerate a roommate. We want to enjoy them. We want to accept them. We want to be able to love them. So upping our game from tolerance to love is a great big step. But it starts with accepting what is. All right, Tom, I think you had your hand up and then Lisbeth did.
I think
You need to hold the mic like practically up your
we're
nose.
empowered. Ego is replaced by love and God. Fear is replaced by knowing and having faith. And the power that this gives us to create the life we want for ourselves, whatever that looks like to you.
Okay. Lisbeth, I think you were next.
For me, it has been the blessing to have calm, surrender, as I have been raised in a family that had war at the center, and there was no blessing, there was no calmness, there was no love. And learning this has freed me so much. And it's like that song. So that's my biggest thing, is to let go and accept what is. And with calmness, not resentment or anger or anything else, just let it be. Thank you.
Thanks. Mel has his hand up, and then Laura's right there, so. Normally I send him back and forth on purpose. Maybe I've grown out of that.
So for me, a couple things. Freedom, and also a willingness to experience pain, fear, all the stuff that I have a tendency to want to run away from. So, yeah, it's just more willingness. It's not perfect, but yeah, the negative emotions.
It's almost to pick up on what Laura said. I used to get really plugged in from time to time about things. And I can say it that way now, because I used to say, things used to really plug me in, like I wasn't even there. But you know, when that happens, it goes away like almost instantly these days. And that is so sweet, especially for the people that I live with.
Dr. Kathy Hearn used to say, I might be pushing your button, but I didn't install it. And it's not that we no longer have hot buttons, it's just that we've removed some of the electricity from behind them. It's like when your doorbell doesn't work anymore. Sometimes it'll go off on its own, and I found that out this week. But your buttons become different. So Jean and then Susan.
I was thinking finding peace in the chaos.
Ooh. Does anyone have any chaos in their world? Okay. And Susan, I think is next.
Well, I know that something has changed in me because my sister who lives with me does not attend this church, but she's telling her friends they should.
All right then. just a little bit. How do we know we as a community are engaging in spiritual growth? Not just individually, but as a community, because one of them is that the buzz starts. The buzz happens outside these walls. People know who we are, and we get this reputation. I've had a reputation.
Our circles.
Say more about that, please.
Well, our circles are generating the buzz, and people are joining the circles and becoming more active in them.
You know what I love about the circles, and I didn't make this up, this is just how the program comes to us. What I love about the circles is that we don't require people to show up on Sundays in order to be part of the circle. It's a greater way of being accepting and loving. Hi.
Hi. So I wanted to answer your first question and then this one. So how do we know that we're spiritually growing when an alien comes in? So when people are welcoming, and when I walk in and I see someone, they're welcoming me, they're asking about me, I can tell that their mind is towards me. That for me is a demonstration of spiritual growth. You can tell when someone is going inside themselves, thinking about themselves, wanting to be approved and accepted, and then you can tell when they've done their spiritual growth and it's coming towards you, they're showing love towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the second question, sort of the same thing. No longer are we as a community looking to be approved or accepted. We are now, we've done our growth and we're ready to go out and accept others and show that. The end.
This is a big one. We're unapologetic about who we are. Could you imagine walking through your life being completely self-accepting to the point where you don't apologize anymore? No, I'm sorry, I'm a little absent-minded. Becomes, hey, thanks for waiting. All right, I've got my back to you, so you can raise hands now.
So Kathleen, I'm going to go back to the first part.
Okay.
And I know this is a very sort of overused expression, but just staying in the moment and our ability to be with whatever we're experiencing at that time is really important. And for me, one of the biggest parts of that is our music. That music brings us a feeling, brings me a feeling of passion and staying in the moment. And I think that separates us from a lot of other religious congregations, that our music program swings and keeps us in the moment.
I'm going to write present just because it's shorter.
I think when we give evidence of our spirituality and our genuine outreach to this community, like the LGBTQ thing today and Habitat for Humanity, that's us in our community living who we are. Pure example.
PAHH stands for Prescott Area Habitat for Humanity. So we're not just, we've got our own stuff together to the point where we have energy to reach out into the world. Who else has something?
I think it's a light. So when you said, when an alien comes in, how do they know? I think there's radiating a light, love, a happiness.
I love that. Thank you. How many of you think that there's a light, when you walk in here, there's a certain energy of light and love? And that's what makes you come back. It's not just the cookies. Somebody over here had their hand up. Miss Catherine.
Thank you. I think our openness to questioning and other ways of thinking, there's never like a closed, this is the way it is, and you know, we always are accepting of other ways.
How's that? Okay. So we're not, to me, that's part of unapologetically being who we are, allows us to experience the other without being threatened by it. If you think about this center in 5 years' time, and we have done our work to spiritually grow, what else will you be seeing happening around here? What will be the evidence that we are doing our work? Not have done, but are doing. Because, you know, job security is amazing when your job is spiritual growth.
More building.
Okay, so I heard, I see hands coming up over here, and I heard more buildings.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll grow physically. Before we go further, whoever said that, what will be happening in those buildings? Because we could have a laundromat, but...
Actually, by more buildings, I mean more classes, more people attend, more children.
Awesome, thank you.
Could we have more services, not just one, but 2 or 3, or however many?
Calm down. I'm actually entirely open to doing more services, and what excites me, what got brought to me recently was, you know, not everybody can make it Sunday, but Wednesday night works. If we were to add back in something on Wednesday nights, would that appeal to you? Do you think you could get your friends there? That's an actual question to you guys. Depending on what this, I mean, Wednesday night will not be the spiritual service of cleaning Reverend Kathleen's bathroom. That will not be what we do.
Not now, but maybe later. That would be real for Wednesday night.
Oh.
Never for the bathroom.
Okay, I heard not now, but maybe later for the Wednesday night thing, and I thought, she actually would go? You guys heard it, right? What else, using the microphone, would we see?
Knowing that our children are getting a right start.
So once again, the emphasis on our Children's Association of Awesomeness.
The one thing that we have not mentioned here that's critical and absolutely what people look for when they go to somewhere that they want to go to is to see the joy exhibited by those individuals that are a part of that organization.
And that's very important. It's so important that joy is one of the 4 big ones for us.
I think for me, it's also about seeing more than 1 or 1.5 demographic in here. And I don't know how to, I want to see young people,
Diversity.
I want to see middle-aged, I want to see that this thing is touching not just a select people between Yetta and Yetta.
Tom has his hand up over here. Did you have? Okay. You guys are making him run back and forth now. I love it. See, I have taught you my skills.
Well, And to go along with what Mel was saying, I think a great way to do that would be get more internet, more social media, more diverse ways of attracting people. Maybe even advertise on the radio station or put an ad in the paper in the religious page or something. I don't know, but you know.
Or the rock and roll page.
Or the rock and roll page.
Yeah, we had one of those. Yeah, part of my vision for the center is to have 3 overlapping congregations. This one, whatever we decide to call ourselves, the social media internet congregation, and then a Spanish-speaking congregation. No hablo muy bien, pero entiendo mejor. Gracias. Entiendo un poco. Which after 8 years of school is a little embarrassing, but there you go. What I check.
I don't see much, but I hear a big band. Or a small band, but loud.
So we have, what I would love to see is us supporting the arts. In part by having music, in part by having plays, in part by having even more of the great artists up on our wall. And I saw a hand over here, I think it was Katie. Catherine, which do you prefer? Catherine. Where's Moose?
I know for myself, when I first came to this center, I was so broken. I was in pieces all over the place. And the first thing that people did was they smiled at me, they shook my hand, and they told me that it's going to be okay. And I went, whatever. So as the days go on that I had come here, and I put in prayer requests. So I think for me, the prayer request system is what really got me through a lot of it. I miss a lot of Sundays. I am one of those people that would be great to have on Wednesdays. But I think the ministry of prayer is what has really helped me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Catherine. Love spoken here. It's on my bumper. Elizabeth, and then I'm gonna invite people who haven't spoken yet to summon their courage and say what it is you want to see.
I don't believe that we have a jail ministry.
Oh, so you would like to see a prison ministry?
I would like to see a jail ministry.
Okay, so I think we have time for one more because I just noticed what time it is. Oops. One more, guys. What's something else we would love to see here? Lisa is up front.
For me, it was receiving. Manifesting something and not freaking out and receiving it. If it wasn't for this place, all the things I have going on in my life right now would not exist.
It's such a big demonstration, it came right off the page. When I say that there's a lot of demonstrating going on, what I mean is that people are able to see this stuff work in their lives. Not just demonstrating the stuff I list, but the stuff you list. Yes? Okay. Well then, let's bring this to we're going to just slow it down a little bit. We're not done with this. After we do the first 3 of the 4 values, which are love, spiritual growth, inclusivity, and joy. Joy happens to be in December, so that'll have to wait till next year. But what I would like to do is get together as a group and have a meeting in which we evaluate how are we doing on these, which ones need to be kicked up a notch, and which ones kind of fell by the wayside that we'd like to pick up again. Anyone else up for that meeting? Okay, so we'll kind of, not critique, but definitely take a look at how we're doing. And part of what we do here for spiritual growth always is prayer, which is one of the things we talked about. So I stand in the truth of this moment. And I celebrate the truth. I celebrate Spirit by all of its names. And all the beautiful, wonderful ways that it manifests in the world. All the different faces, all the different ages, all the different prayer rituals and spiritual practices, and all of the good that comes of this space in which we do our spiritual work, in which we learn to love and accept ourselves and raise our standard of living and loving. Allowing Spirit to pour through each and every one of us is what we do, and how we allow the world to become one that works for everyone. I celebrate this good. I declare it to be the truth of who we are and our birthright, right here and now. Just as we are and just as we are not, because what we are is divine. And I celebrate that. I call it good and very good, and so it is.
So it is.
And I'll ask that you stand with me and sing as we allow that good to simply wash over us.